few years ago, I actually lecture on this now. I say, you need 2 skills to have the quality of life you want. If you want an extraordinary life on your terms, whatever your terms are, you need to master the skill of the science of achievement. You got to figure out, how do I take what I dream about and make it real? And it's a science. And you can model it to people, and you can learn, you can speed up. I've spent my lifetime doing that. But the second skill, and the one that most people don't give enough value to culturally, is more important. And that is, you need to alter, if you want an extraordinary life, how many people do you know that have achieved it? How many have done this? Who's achieved a goal? It was a big goal, you worked your ass off and you achieved it, and then your brain went, is this all there is? Who's had one of these moments? Yeah, almost everybody. And that's worse than failing, because we're all achievers in this room, right? So if you fail, what are you gonna do? You get back up, you try another approach, you're gonna eventually succeed. You know it in your gut if you're really driven. But if you succeed and you're miserable, now you're what I call technically screwed, right? I mean, because if you're not happy with what you got, I mean, failing, you can get up and do something new, but succeeding, where do you go? So I really believe, you look at somebody like say, Robin Williams. I think the loss of him is one of the greatest losses we had. He's loved worldwide. I asked people all over the world last year, in China, I asked them in Japan, and Sydney, Australia, throughout the US, how many of you loved, don't raise your hand if you liked him, how many of you loved Robin Williams? I'm curious. Keep your hands up, look around the room. Like 98%, only 2% assholes that didn't like Robin Williams in this room. But when I say this, I didn't say like, I said love. And so here's a guy, was he an overachiever? He came to Hollywood, everybody comes to Hollywood. He said, I'm on my own show. Oh yeah, sure you are, buddy. Who's old enough to remember the show? What was it called?
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy, old people in this room, clearly, right? He does Mork and Mindy, but he also makes it the #1 show. Then he says, I'm gonna have a beautiful family, he does that. Then he says, I wanna make more money than I can spend, he does that. Then he says, I wanna make movies, he does that. Then he says, I wanna win an Academy Award for not being funny, his #1 skill. And he did it. And then he hung himself in his own home, leaving his wife and children to find his lifeless body. How do you explain that? I'll tell you the answer. He made everybody happy but homeless. And his wife said he had Lewy bodies and upsets in his brain. That's all true, but he used drugs and alcohol his entire life. He suffered his entire life, made everybody happy but himself. And so I love the guy. Like one of my birthdays, I was at TED and did this talk, was very popular. He came to my birthday party. A bunch of guys took me out to dinner that night and jumped on top of the table and sang happy birthday as a Russian woman and then as a Chinese man. And you know, I've never lost a suicide, knock on wood, out of thousands. We've made films and follow-up, but I had no idea that's where he was. But I look at a man like that and I say, he's a warning as much as we all loved him, even more so because we loved him. I know none of you are going to kill yourself. I'm not worried about that. But a lot of people live a long time, but they don't really live, you know, because they let their stress and their frustration, you know, I always say achievers don't get fearful. We're all achievers, right? We don't get fearful, we just get stressed, right? Stress is the achiever word for fear. So when I say to you, what are you stressed about? Well, I got to do this, I got to make this thing happen. What if you don't? Well, I got to. Well, what if it'll fall apart? What if it falls apart? Then it'll fail. What if it fails? Then I'm a failure. What if you're a failure? And now if I follow the trail of your stress, it'll take me to your deepest fear. And the only way to have your life work is to face that fear and push through it. What is courage? Courage does not mean you're not afraid. It means you're afraid and you do it anyway. You're scared shitless, but you do it anyway. And I think if you're gonna succeed at the highest level, you've gotta face those fears. I always say to people, really, when did you define yourself? I mean, really, how many years ago did you come up with what you could and couldn't do in your life? How many years ago? Most people, if they really look at how they're living their life today, it's based on a set of standards, a set of beliefs that they made choices about 10, 20, 30 or more years ago. I mean, very often we made decisions in our youth or very young about what to believe, about what we were capable of, about who we are as a person, and that becomes the glass ceiling, if you will, that controls us. There's a corny metaphor, but it's true. I'm just saying whatever you really want, wants don't get met consistently, standards do. Whatever you identify, this is who I am. And so it's not so much about changing your identity as there's expanding it. You know, deciding that, you know, instead of your goal is to lose 10 pounds, which is not compelling, what if your vision was to get back to my fighting weight? You know, this year, this month, this next 90 days, I'm gonna transform my body. I'm gonna take on a new challenge. I'm gonna find some technique or strategy. There's a million of them that can reframe myself where I want to feel younger, stronger, more vibrant than ever before. Here's my reasons, because I want the energy to really make my life work, because it's tough out there and I want to be stronger than I've ever been before. I want to go in front of the mirror and if I'm naked, not, want to laugh. I want to look there and take a good look and go, yeah, I'm proud of whatever I see there. Whatever it takes, something's gonna make you laugh, smile, something that's gonna tease yourself, but something's gonna move you to another level. If you identify yourself in a new way and you own that every day, and that becomes the standard of how you live, you'll find the way to make that standard real.
We've talked about people struggling and you've helped millions and millions of people. So what do you feel like is the one thing that people struggle with the most, that have in common? That one thing that it seems like everyone struggles with?
Well, there's so many things, people's relationships are complex, right? Because you're dealing with another species. Even if you're gay, in order to have a relationship, you need opposite energies. That's male and female energies, even if it's in the same gender. And so relationships are a huge source of challenge for people because it's where you get the greatest joy and it's where you get the greatest pain. I think in business, most people get into business, and we all know the stats. 50% of businesses are gone the first year, 96% are gone in 10 years. 4 out of 100 make it. That doesn't mean they're profitable. So there's different issues that you deal with there. People's bodies, because of the way we have commercialized food, makes almost everybody, 70% of Americans are overweight. I mean, it's the fast country in the history of the world, and the rest of the world's mirroring us. So I deal with so many different issues. It really depends on the person. People come to me usually at extremes. They're either the best in the world at what they do and they're doing well and they're the best because they're always looking for that little thing I can do that makes me better and takes me to a different destiny. Or it's somebody facing a challenge. They're facing a financial challenge, a business challenge, an emotional challenge, a relationship challenge with their kids, or they have a birthday with a 0 on it, so they're reevaluating their life. So I get people who have found hunger. They're hungry because it's not how they want it, or they're hungry because that's their nature. People are not hungry, I don't really deal with because they pretty much accept where things are. And so what I wish for them, what I pray for them is they find something to inspire them more than themselves, or the wagon wheel comes down their rut. They get enough pain that they start searching. And I don't care how smart you are, how strong you are, how rich you are, how famous you are, life is gonna humble you. Life's gonna take you to your knees. The real question is, what are you gonna do when that happens? And so for me, it's really like what this challenge is about. It's like a comeback challenge. The greatest story again. What is the greatest story of mankind? What's the story we all love in books and movies? It's a comeback. It's somebody gets taken to their knees, unfairly, unjustly, whatever, or their own ego takes them there. And then instead of giving up, they get knocked down, they get up, and then eventually they not only get up and they don't get to where they were, get them better than they were. My obsession this year is to make that happen for more people. So we did this in July. I did this comeback challenge for free for everybody around the world. Like I say, 380,000 people this year. Right now, I think we have almost 500,000 people right now. So hopefully we'll end up with 750,000 people. I'm gonna train for 5 straight days. I say for an hour and a half, but you guys know me, I'll probably go 2 hours because I want to add so much value. But we're gonna show you what to do with your body, what to do with your emotion, what to do with your relationship, what to do with your finance, what to do with your career or your business. 5 days, no charge, no hooks, no nothing. And what's the added value you give me is I give you a challenge each day that you got to go do something uncomfortable to make you grow. And if you keep doing it, you'll grow massively in just 5 days. And then, I get the value of seeing the impact, and I get the value if I help people, they tell other people, and more people, want to learn what I have to share. So it works for me too, but we're going to do this in a way that's going to knock people's socks off. And it's coming up January 21st, less than a week from now, January 21st to the 25th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. But like I said, we have people all over the earth that are going to be doing this in more than 100 countries.
What moves would I make? What would I do if a contingency happened right now? And what are the possible contingencies that I could be looking at? What are they? And if you're thinking that as a frontline guy, when the opportunity pops up, then just jump on it. Boom, there you go. Then when it does happen, of course, you got to stay detached, because you want to make sure that you don't lead too far. You don't overstep your bounds and step on toes. So you got to be careful of that. So you need to live with that mindset. And that will make you such a better leader when the moment does come. If you're always thinking about it, if you're always watching, like you talked about earlier, I'm watching the leader. I'm seeing what they're doing. I'm seeing what I might do differently. I'm still supporting them. I'm supporting you. If you're in charge, I'm supporting you, but I'm thinking, I might do this. And then you watch, what would my what would the results of my decision have been compared to what they did? So you can be thinking like a leader, even though you might not necessarily be in a leadership position. So live with that mindset. That's what you need to do.